Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Tonight's live is going to be a little bit different. Normally, Braden's here with me, but he's off celebrating his birthday in style. So tonight, it's just us. And honestly, I kind of like that because it gives me a chance to slow things down and share something a little bit more intimate. Over the weekend, my husband and I went camping for the fall equinox. Bring it in style. Surround myself in the woods. And if I'm being honest, it wasn't the picture perfect, relax and reset experience that I thought it was going to be. I think I spent Tuesday. Is it back? Oh my gosh, it's back. Okay, cool. All right. Well, if it does that again, I'm going to set it up on my laptop. So, hopefully, the connection stays good. Third time's a charm, right? Stay with me. Okay, well, we're going to roll with the connection that we have. Fix the phone, so hopefully no more interruptions. Anyways, as I was saying, over the weekend, I went camping with my husband for the fall equinox. And it wasn't the relax and reset experience that I was hoping for. I'm pretty sure I spent most all last week preparing, and boy, was I prepared. I had everything ready to go when my husband got off work. Normally, we work together and we'll go over what we packed, or at least I'll wait for him to come home so that we can go over what I packed and make sure everything's good, and then together we'll load the truck. But this time I was so on the ball that I had everything checked off my list and I was so ready. That, and it could have been preparing for the vendor show. But either way, we got to our campsite, we were set up, and the next day I just remember feeling this, I can't even bring words to it. I was concerned that my husband was bored. So I'd check in with him every now and then, like, I feel this need to entertain you. Are you okay? Do you want to do anything else? Like, I don't know what kind of camping trip you were hoping for, but I was hoping to just be. So I shut my phone off. I mean, we were in the middle of a place with no reception anyways, but I made sure to keep it away from me, and I wasn't going to pull it out and try and distract myself. I brought a book, but the more I tried to settle my mind, the more I tried to make myself calm down. Like, I'd sit and I tried to sit with the boredom, but there was this anxiety that just, I was fighting it. I was fighting it hard. The more you try to force something, the less it is. So what I came to on my camping trip is that presence isn't about pushing, it's about allowing. So when the boredom came up, or the crazy restless mind, and I find myself thinking about next week and the vendor show, like, oh my gosh, Whitney, just calm down. When I'm sitting in the stillness and the boredom popped up, I tried to just be curious about it. And that's way easier said than done. So my weekend camping trip, while I was trying to relax, it was very difficult to relax. I don't I don't think I've had a camping trip like that before. And it was just me and him. And I'm so grateful for his patience. It was good. My camera roll's full, so I don't have any pictures from the trip, but I think my husband took one picture. But one of the things that helped keep me grounded through the camping trip was this book, The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. And the cover says, "It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for." What do you ache for? I found this book and the next one. There are 3 of them that she wrote. The Invitation, The Dance, and The Call. I can show it as a little closer. Oh, they're pretty. All the covers look very similar. It's not that thick of a book. I found this book while I was in the waiting room to where my kids go to therapy. And they had this little free library. And they had 2 copies of this one. I have both of them because it is so worth sharing. And then I have the second one, The Dance. I don't have The Call, but while I was sitting there, I opened it up and I read the poem. The Invitation is the title to the poem that she wrote. And it is just, and as I started reading into it, I have to share this. It is gorgeous. Going as far as to read this to my kids at night. I read them 1 chapter. And the really cool thing about this is at the end of each chapter, there's a little meditation that goes with the theme to the chapter. So the book starts with Oriah's poem, and then it goes into it dissects the poem and goes into further explanation, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I'm going to read the poem and then I'm going to read a chapter. After the poem, yeah. And after the first chapter, there's a meditation. And I will mention that it's a meditation if you're not already sitting down and relaxed. Let's just get into it. So again, gorgeous cover. The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer is her full name. Oh, one other really cool thing about this is it's written in, and there's parts that are highlighted and there's writing in the margins. So it is a used book, and this makes me excited, super excited. All right. The Invitation. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can hear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty, every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you can stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. I have decided I'm going to read 3. The next chapter is Accepting the Invitation. Once in a while, we are given moments of real grace. Sometimes during my early morning meditation, a place within me opens up, and parts of myself let go that I did not even know were holding on. In these moments, I feel all the hard places in my heart and body yield to a great softness carried on my breath, and I'm filled with compassion for the part of me that is always trying, always organizing, problem solving, anticipating. And my mind stops and simply follows my breath. A great faith washes over me, a knowing that everything that needs to get done will get done. My shoulders drop an inch. The small but familiar ache in my chest eases, and the moment stretches. There is enough. Enough time, enough energy, enough of all that is needed. A great tenderness for myself, and the world opens inside me. And I know I belong to this time, these people, to this earth, and to something that is both within and larger than all of it, something that sustains and holds us all. I do not want to be anywhere else. I am filled with commitment to and compassion for myself and the world. Rising from my cushion, I move unhurriedly towards my day. As I step into the bathroom, I catch a glimpse of the quiet half smile on my face, dissolving into a grimace of disgust as cold water soaks through my clean white socks. All semblance of grace and ease shatters in a shrill cry of the banshee as I survey the aftermath of my teenage son's showers. Pools of water on the tile floor, several wet towels in a heap in the corner, others twisted onto the towel racks in configurations that could not possibly dry before the end of the millennium. The shower curtain half in, half out of the tub, bunched and folded to maximize the growth of mildew and mold. Later, after cleaning up, my younger son, Nathan, speaks to me as I sit in the kitchen with a cup of hot tea. "I know we shouldn't leave the bathroom such a mess, Mom," he says cautiously, trying to sound reasonable. "But I think leaving wet towels on the floor is probably pretty normal behavior for teenage boys. Not that we should do it," he adds hurriedly as I pierce him with a look over the rim of my cup. "But if that's the worst thing that we do, you really don't have too much to worry about, do you?" I can't help but laugh. He's right, of course. This is the reality that we live in, aspiring to be at our best, longing for and sometimes finding meaning and connection within ourselves and with that which is larger than ourselves. We are undone by messy bathrooms, traffic jams, and burnt toast. I'm not interested in a spirituality that cannot encompass my humanness. New Age optimism. I skipped a line. I find little comfort or guidance in traditional dogma or unqualified New Age optimism, because beneath the small daily tasks are hard paradoxes, things the mind cannot reconcile, but the heart must hold if we are to live fully. Profound tiredness and radical hope, shattered beliefs and relentless faith, the seemingly contradictory longings for personal freedom and a deep commitment to others, for solitude and intimacy, for the ability to simply be with the world and the need to change what we know is not right about how we are living. The invitation is a declaration of intent, a map into the longing of the soul, the desire to live passionately, face to face with ourselves, and skin to skin with the world around us, to settle for nothing less than what is real. This book is a journey into the territory mapped out by the invitation. If we are to traverse this territory together, there are some things that you should know. Because simply saying yes to the invitation, feeling the pull of the heart or the quickening of the blood that urges movement forward, is not the same thing as actually making the journey. I want to live with deep intimacy every day of my life. I am guided, sometimes driven, by an ache to take the necessary risks that will let me live close to what is within and around me. And I am sometimes afraid that it'll be too much, that I will not have or be connected to whatever it takes to be with it all, to bear the exquisite beauty and bone-wrenching sorrow of being fully alive. Knowing how frightening both the beauty and the pain can be, I offer you here, at the beginning of this journey, 3 promises that are simultaneously 3 warnings. First, the places foreshadowed in the invitation are not metaphorical. They are actual. When I say that I want to know if you can get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children, I don't mean I want to know if you have good intentions, or if you can afford to pay someone else to care for those who need your attention. I want to know if you really can get up when nothing in you wants to do anything but stay beneath the covers. I want to know if you can do the small, mundane but necessary tasks, if you can give what is needed when you feel you have nothing left to give. When I ask if you can be alone with yourself, I'm not asking if the idea of being alone appeals to you, but if you can actually be present with yourself for longer than a couple of hours, without flipping on the TV or the radio or picking up the telephone or a magazine. If you can truly find and be at peace with your own company. The first warning, then, is also the first promise. If this book succeeds in actually taking you into the territory of the invitation, you will experience, not just read about, the ache, the sorrow, the joy, the courage, the peace. The personal stories that I share here are not important in themselves. We all have 1,000 stories, and my life has no more or fewer than others, but stories carefully chosen and shaped by both the teller and the listener can open gateways into our interior landscape, can reveal the meaning in our lives, enfolded in the details and unfolded in their telling and conscious contemplation. I promise that I will not pretend to know something I have not experienced, nor will I try to increase our comfort with each other by feigning confusion where I have knowledge. This then leads to the second warning and promise. The consequences of moments of deep intimacy with yourself, another, or the world are completely unpredictable. When we learn how to truly be present with our joy and our sorrow, with our longing and our desires, layer upon layer of ourselves and the world are revealed. We cannot know in advance what this revelation will look like, or what action it will inspire us or compel us to take. I have watched participants at workshops. I have facilitated circle a moment of anticipated intimacy with their own desires, catch the scent of portended change on the wind, and try and flee at the very thing that they came seeking, a deeper connection with self and spirit. for fear of what it would call upon them to do in their own lives. If we have based parts of our lives on lies or truths that no longer hold, however well-intentioned or unconscious, the changes that deep intimacy evokes can look very dangerous. We cannot tell in advance which aspects of our carefully constructed sense of self, if any, will survive. This is the good news and the bad. If you take the journey, real change is possible and inevitable, and from the present vantage point, completely unpredictable. The third warning holds yet another promise. No part of the journey is wasted. Once you recognize within yourself a hunger for something beyond just continuing, once you taste even the possibility of touching the meaning enfolded in your life, you can never be completely content with just going through the motions. There is no going back. Learning cannot be undone. The wisdom touched in moments of real intimacy penetrates the soul with knowledge of who and what we are. It transforms us. I cannot promise that the journey will always be easy. Opening ourselves to living intimately with the world is not a selective process. If we refuse to touch the places of sorrow or confusion within ourselves, we cannot cultivate the ability to be completely present in our moments of joy and ecstasy. But if we are open to sorrow as well as joy, we can expand our ability to hold ourselves and the world in our own hearts. I know we can do this because I have experienced and have seen in others the ability to go into and embrace each of the places of intimacy invoked by the invitation. I can tell you that this is possible, that it is possible to feel pain without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it, to dance with joy and feel the ecstasy completely, to live with failure, to see beauty, to stand in the center of the fire. I have lived each of these without regret, and my experiences have given me a great faith in the human spirit. My experiences have birthed within me an infinite tenderness for the courage of the human heart, mine and yours, that will stand up again and again and expand to hold all that matters, even when doing so seems, to the human mind, unbearable or simply impossible. We can do this, and when we do it together, it is easier. When I was giving birth to my first son, my partner, who was as inexperienced and overwhelmed as I was by the intensity of 16 hours of labor, tired, he tried to reassure me that everything was progressing as it should and that I was fine. Caught between the fear of what was still to come and the pain of the moment, I was not at my best. How would you know? I snapped at him, and we both looked to the midwife. When she assured us that everything was fine and reminded us both to breathe, we listened. She knew. She had been there many times before. It was her knowledge, born of experience, that we trusted. We will give birth here to a deeper intimacy with our lives and our world. I am the midwife who has attended many births and borne children herself. When it is hard, I will remind you of what you already know, that you can do this, that the courage to go deeper is found by letting your desire grow larger than your fear. That strength is founded in your longing to live fully, your willingness to settle for nothing less. I will not leave you suspended in the places that may be difficult, but will move you through to the places where breathing comes more easily, periodically offering you prayers and meditations that you can use to rest and renew your body and heart. We are not alone as we struggle to open fully to life. When I am able to live with real intimacy, when I pay attention to each moment and do not shrink away from what is true, I experience a presence that is not mine alone, that holds me even as I hold the moment. This presence, this great mystery, known by so many different names, God, Spirit, Allah, the Great Mother, lifts me, fills me with a vast silence and a sharp taste of the interconnectedness of all life. I have faith in this mystery and the many ways in which it sustains us. Before we begin this journey together, you have the right to know what motivates me, why I seek to live intimately with my life and with the world. The most truthful answer to this is the simplest. Because I have to. I am compelled by some deep hunger of the soul, driven by a desire that will not leave me alone, to live life to the fullest. And I know this does not mean working endlessly, accomplishing the most, or consuming the greatest amount and variety of things and experiences. It means tasting each mouthful, feeling each breath, listening to each song, being awake and aware of each moment as it unfolds. Living fully in the present does not mean disregarding the consequences of our actions for the future. If we in the West, where so much of this world's political and economic power resides, are going to find a way to make the changes that are necessary to ensure that our children's children can live on this planet, we have to learn how to participate fully in our own lives, how to remember and experience the interconnectedness of all spirit and matter. I seek wisdom in a life that combines contemplation and action, real contemplation, truly being with the joys and sorrows of my own heart and the world, moves me to action guided by awareness and fueled by a passion for life. There are no deals being offered here. You cannot trade the courage needed to live every moment for immunity from life's sorrows. We may say that we know this, but ours is the culture of deal-making mind. From infancy, we have breathed in the belief that there is always a deal to be made, a bargain to be struck. Eventually, we believe that if we do the right thing, if we are good enough, clever enough, sincere enough, work hard enough, we will be rewarded. There are different versions to this song. If you are sorry for your sins and you try not to sin again, you will go to heaven. If you do your daily practice, clean up your diet, heal your inner child, ferret out all your emotional issues, focus your intent, come into alignment with the world around you, hone your affirmations, find and listen to the voice of your higher self, you will be rewarded with vibrant health, abundant prosperity, loving relations, and inner peace. In other words, heaven. We know that what we do and how we think affect the quality of our lives. Many things are clearly up to us, and many others are not. I can see no evidence that the universe works on a simple meritocratic system of cause and effect. Bad things do happen to good people all the time. Monetary success does come to some who do what they do not love, as well as to some who are unwilling or unable to see the harm that they do to the planet or others. Illness and misfortune come to some who follow their soul's desires. Many great artists have been poor. Great teachers have lived in obscurity. My invitation, my challenge to you here, is to journey into a deeper intimacy with the world and your life without any promise or safety guaranteed, or any guarantee of reward beyond the intrinsic value of full participation. To help us along this path, I have offered meditations at the end of each chapter. These meditations are not prescriptions that will fix what is hard or unhappy in our lives, but they have helped me and those I have worked with to expand, to live more intimately with the world and ourselves. They can be read slowly or played back in a tape recorder or followed while a friend reads them aloud to you. That's me. Life lived intimately may not be easier, but it is fuller, richer, and more open to everything, the confusion and the insight, the excitement and the boredom, the shadow and the light, and somehow expanding my ability to simply be with it all does make what is harder easier to bear. It allows me to give and receive more in each moment. More often than not, it simply helps me find my sense of humor when I'm taking myself too seriously, to laugh at how easily the wonderful serenity and meditative moment can be shattered by the mundane sensation of cold water soaking up my socks. I wrote the invitation late one night after returning home from a party. I was unsettled, disappointed with the evening that had been full of the usual social conversations. Restless, I sat down at my desk in the dark and I listened to the sounds around me gradually diminish as the city settled into sleep. There is the quiet, with a street lamp casting a pale light into the room. I pick up my pen and wrote what I really wanted to say to the people that I had met that evening, patterned on a writing exercise I had learned at the David White workshop. When I was finished, I sat in the half light and read the words aloud to the sleeping city. I heard my longing to be fully with others. In the silence that followed, I heard a voice of the world, and sometimes I think I hear it late at night, begging me to remember this longing. When I imagine myself as an old woman at the end of my life, and I ask myself how I will evaluate my time here, there is only one question that concerns me. Did I love well? There are 1,000 ways to love other people in the world, with our touch, our words, our silence, our work, our presence. I want to love well. This is my hunger. I want to make love to the world by the way that I live in it, by the way I am myself and others. I am with myself and others every day. So I seek to increase my ability to be with the truth in each moment, to be with what I know, the sweet and the bitter. I want to stay aware of the vastness of what I do not know. This is what brings me to the journey. I do not want to live any other way. And sometimes I allow myself to imagine that each moment in which we love well by simply being all of who we are and being fully present allows us to give back something essential to the sacred mystery that sustains us all. And that's the end of that chapter. Moving on to the meditation. It is titled A Meditation for Beginners. Sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Bring your attention to your breathing. Following the breath as it enters and leaves your body. Letting your muscles let go with each exhalation. Just following the rising and the falling of your body with each breath. Now, let yourself focus on one thing that you want to do that is not currently part of your life. Let it be something specific. in concrete, in image, in detail, what it would look like, feel like. It may be meditating or exercising daily, learning something new, or doing something creative, like dancing, painting, writing, or singing. Or simply being more patient with those you love. Pick something that has meaning for you. See yourself beginning this activity. Imagine the state of mind, body, and emotions ideally required to begin. How do you want to be feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically when you start? Imagine yourself as you ideally want to begin. Now, be aware of how you are feeling mentally, emotionally, and physically at this current moment. Feel the gap, if there is one, between where you want to be as you begin living this aspect of your life and where you are. Imagine two selves, one feeling as you would ideally like to feel, and the other just as you are, perhaps more tired, less inspired, less calm, or more distracted than you want to be. Let your attention follow your inhalation and your exhalation. Take some time to feel, without judgment, the gap between where you are and where you want to be, or where you think you should be to begin. Now, imagine yourself beginning what you originally wanted to. starting from the place that you are right now. See yourself doing it, meditating, exercising, being more patient with someone you love, learning something, doing something creative, just the way you are. Perhaps a little tired or distracted or agitated or uninspired. Don't pull away from the way that you're feeling. Let yourself relax into how things are. And imagine doing what you want to do. Perhaps not as perfectly, not as ideally, not like you first imagined, but doing it regardless. Just doing it anyways. Let go with each exhale. And let yourself feel exactly how you're feeling. And give yourself permission to begin from here. Now slowly come back to me so that we can begin chapter 2. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. You can put your hands over your eyes and open your eyes behind your hands. That way the light isn't as harsh. Maybe get a drink of water. Get a snack and let's go on to chapter 2. The longing. Let me get a drink. The longing. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. I have faith in longing, wherever it finds me, and often it finds me at unpredictable and inconvenient moments. It's like a door that suddenly opens. I'm never prepared. There is no preparation for the way that it takes me and leaves me, for the fierceness of the ache. It is the voice of the parts of myself I have left behind in the deals I have tried to make with life, trying to trade pieces of my dreams for promises of safety. Some mornings I take 2 minutes to sit in my backyard and offer a prayer for the day, even though part of me is anxious to begin the tasks lined up before me, getting my sons up, cooking breakfast, returning phone calls, throwing a couple loads of laundry into the washer, sending out the mail. But just for a moment, I sit with the fresh, cool sunlight of the early morning, the breeze moving my hair, my bare feet in the moist grass, and I'm surprised by the wave of longing that sweeps over me. It is an unnameable ache. It makes my breath catch, my lips whisper, I want, I want. I can't put a name to it. I have to wait, open and hungry. And it comes and takes me, this longing. And I remember what I thought I could never forget. This longing seduces me with promises embedded in the cells of my body. It whispers to me of rest, of deep connection with myself, of the ache for another, of living faithful to the sacred. Sitting with Twyla Niche, a Seneca elder, at her kitchen table in the pale morning light, sharing cups of hot tea, I ask her, "How long were you married?" Twyla pauses and pushes back the wisps of white hair that refuse to be confined in bobby pins. She's a tiny woman, less than 5 feet tall, full of vitality at 80 years old. The fine lines of life cover her skin, on her face and her hands. "I am married," she replies quietly. "Though my husband died 12 years ago, he is still, as he was for 32 years before that, my husband." The way she says it makes my throat ache. I can see in her eyes and in the way that her hands reach for the carton of cream that it is true. I know that last night, alone in her bed, as she slipped across the borderland into sleep, she felt him curled behind her, the soft hair of his chest against her thin back, his strong thighs along the curve of her aging buttocks, his strong hands gently cupping her softly sagging breasts. It is as it has always been. The separation of years, or even worlds, cannot dull their ache for each other. Silently, her pale blue eyes watch my face and my fingers trace the sun's patterns on the plastic tablecloth. I long for this depth of intimacy, this level of commitment to another into each moment of my life. I want to know how to live this even when our time together is brief. When we meet, I don't want to ask what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for when that door of longing swings open and you have the courage to feel your own desire. Tell me something that you have not told yourself for a very long time. Let it come up from your belly so that we can be surprised together. We will sit here together for as long as it takes, waiting for it to come. It's hard to wait alone. There have been moments when I was afraid that my longing would never find me again. All my journeys have been in search of the desires I have abandoned. More than a decade has passed since I stood in the living room with my suitcase packed. Nathan drooling good-naturedly propped up on my hip. Brendan playing with some wooden blocks at my feet. I had no plan beyond gathering the diapers and the toys and the clothes that I had packed. I waited for my husband to come home as the shadows lengthened. I was a woman suspended, unable to move, even to the switch on the light. I hoped that he would arrive before dark. Otherwise, I'd be standing there in the middle of the living room without any lights and seem completely crazy. When he came through the door and he glanced at the suitcase, all I could say was, "We're leaving." My voice small and flat. "Really?" he sneered. "And just where were you planning on going?" He was not a cruel man, just a tired one. We were both so tired. "I don't know. I just know I can't stay here." The words could not express the terror I felt, that I was withering inside myself a little more each day. Oh God, Oriah. Anything for a little drama. He took the boys into the kitchen and started making dinner. I was alone in the living room, the dying light pulling all the colors from the familiar shapes of the furniture. I could not leave my sons. I had no place to take them. I waited for the familiar numbness to move up my legs and through my body. Eventually, I knew I would be numb enough to move again. And when I was, I picked up the suitcase, walked back to the bedroom, and unpacked the clothes, placing the suitcase at the back of the closet. My husband and I never spoke of that evening. A year later, when I finally did leave, he was shocked. He gave me a blank stare when I reminded him of that night, of how I greeted him with packed suitcases, and he looked at me as if I was making it up. And the beginning of the leaving started. In my relationships, I became a woman with one hand always reaching for the doorknob, afraid to leave any door closed for too long, for fear of getting trapped, of finding myself once again standing in the twilight, unable to leave with nowhere to go. From the beginning, I told each man what to expect, that I could not be found guilty of subterfuge, of misleading anyone. Honesty was my alibi. I knew I could not stay unless I knew I could leave. Knowing I could leave, I ached to know I could stay, to know how to live a commitment to a mate that did not turn my face away from my own life, inner and outer. Tell me what you ache for. I don't want to hear one more dysfunctional family story as an explanation for your current human frailties. Let me taste your stories and the salt of the tears I brush from your eyelashes. I long for a slow motion meander in the getting familiar places. I want to spiral close, almost touching, to the place where we can feel the heat in the air between us, an unhurried journey as we sift through new scents of each other, letting them linger in our nostrils, breathing them in deeply, allowing our bodies and our hearts to taste the impulse to move toward each other before we move. I want to be courted by the truth. Let the stories that are telling our lives spin out in long, multicolored threads. Don't tell me too much too soon. Don't hide anything. Tell the tales of your heart. Offer them like perfect pearls coming up from the depths of the sea, to be strung together, each gently clicking against the other, luminous and iridescent as they roll out of the moistness. 10 years from now, I want to hear a story of your childhood I've never heard before, and know the delight and ongoing awe of seeing each other for the first time, again and again. Give me each picture slowly so that I can sit with it and find you, and the glimpses of me, and the foreshadows of us there in the details. I want to talk in seamless conversation all night long and find ourselves able to hold the silence together for days, our intimacy sharpened by shared solitude. And if we are to be lovers for the first time, or again, after many times, let the lovemaking be filled with shyness and discovery the way it was, or could have been, when we were 16. Today, a kiss that lingers, a touch on the back of my neck that I can feel for hours. Tomorrow, a light caress on my breast that makes my breath catch. I want to savor each discovery of touch as the infinite unfolding of the other. I want to slow it all down, to wander around, wet, aching for what is to come next, so that I'll know when I have been fully entered, whether by your body, your story, or just simply the moments that pass between us. This is the desire of the human soul for the other, heard through the body and heart. It is hard for me to acknowledge this ache. I worry that I might be only marginally worthy, as a means to an end, as a support for my connection to spirit, my work in the world. But we love spirit and honor the sacred by the way that we touch each other. Even when I'm fully present with myself, I still hold deep within the longing for another and for the world. The universe is not twice given. This split between spirit and matter is in our thinking, our way of speaking of it. I touch God when I caress the face of a lover, hold the beloved when my son's hand is in mine, breathe in spirit when I catch the scent of the sun on the breeze. The world offers itself to me in 1,000 ways, and I ache with an awareness of how infrequently I'm able to receive what is how infrequently I am able to receive more than a small fraction of what is offered, of how often I reject what is because I feel it is not good enough. Some mornings, sitting for a moment in the backyard, I don't even notice how I've tensed my muscles against the sound of the city's traffic, resisting what I've decided is a marring of the morning quiet. I pull away from it, unable or unwilling to welcome this sound as a part of what is alive, as simply as the sounds of men and women beginning their day, going into the world to do the work that they need to do, to provide for themselves and their children. Can you see and touch the divine that is in everything? We live in a secular society with few ceremonies in our daily lives to help us remember and acknowledge the sacred. Robbed of small formalities, we become familiar with one another's humanness. I want a little distance, once in a while, to remind me of what a mystery others are to me, and I to them. To anticipate touching with awe the divine in another. My grandpa, Baba, stood when a woman came into the room, quietly, confidently, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The woman could be young or old, pretty or plain, the next-door neighbor or his soft-spoken sister-in-law. It didn't matter. My father, a man caught between two eras, stood some of the time. My brother, as he grew into manhood, never stood. Our generation shunned the social graces as empty gestures devoid of any real meaning, separate from honorable intent, empty movements designed to placate those denied real power in their lives. What honoring of the feminine could be there in rising from a chair if, at the same time, the community condoned a man beating his wife or forbidding her work of her own? Did Baba feel the old stirrings of the male warrior in his blood, the one who recognized, honored, and cherished the women of his tribe as life-givers, beings who in the very shape of their belly and breast held the image of life? Did he mean to salute life and place himself at her service? Or was he merely being polite, following rules long since meaningless? I don't know. Still, when I enter a room and a man stands until I am seated, I feel a part of myself respond, sensing what it might be like to live where what we offer, the place that we hold that is larger than ourselves, is seen and valued. I feel how this calls me not to deny my humanness, but to remember my place in things, to rise and meet the best in myself and offer it to my people, to be worthy of being woman, life-giver, warrior, mother, sister, grandmother, dreamer, priestess. It's easy to lose sight of the divine in the partner who takes out the garbage, and easier still if he or she doesn't. It's hard to remember to look for and see the beloved in the parking attendant or the checkout clerk that we encounter. We need shared gestures, small ceremonies that help us pay attention, that let us see and honor the mystery of the other every day. This is the commitment my soul longs to make with the world. And I want to stop trying to do this. It is not the being, not even the doing that exhausts. It's the trying to be present, to be awake, to hold the whole world, to be better, more self-aware, more conscious. My hopes for us are real. I want to help create a world where the very idea of toxic waste would rise such a cry of anguish from the people as to make it unthinkable, where we would move, pulled by the heart, to care for the poor, the ill, the dying, and the despairing, without debating whether or not they're deserving, without fear of contamination, seeing ourselves in each person. But as honorable as these desires to make a difference may be, I know my motives are mixed. I'm afraid that if I'm not accomplishing something, I will disappear. I will have nothing to offer you when we meet. I want to be able to live for a day, a month, a year, even a life that wouldn't make a good story. If I have nothing to tell you when we meet, and you ask me what has been happening, I want to be fully content with this. I want to be able to occupy my life right to the corners, and for this to be enough. There are places inside me where the soothing balm of rest has never penetrated. I long for a small respite from reaching, a moment of sweet stillness, quiet darkness, the great silence that can penetrate and loosen the small, hard knots of endless trying. I want to quit running from my own tiredness. I want to be willing and able to move only as fast as I am capable of moving, while still remaining connected to the impulse to move from deep within, stopping when I have lost that tender thread of desire, and having the courage and faith to wait in stillness until I find it again. This is what I ache for: intimacy with myself, others, and the world. Intimacy that touches the sacred in all that is life. This ache, this longing, is a thread that guides me back through the labyrinth of compromises I have made, back to my soul's desires. And sometimes I'm afraid of my desires, afraid of what they will ask of me, what version of myself or the world they will offer that may demand a sacrifice of my carefully cultivated way of seeing. If we are never consumed by the transforming fire of our desires, we risk falling in love with that sweet ache of longing, the daydream of what if or someday. The willingness to live our desires takes courage. So many times our desires have been used against us, used to sell us what someone else wanted us to buy. Moving toward our desire for deep commitment to spirit, we have been sold blind obedience. Opening to our desire to love, we have been sold an abandonment of self. Seeking to embrace our desire for beauty, we have been sold everything from cars to clothes, exotic vacations to plastic surgery. We've been sold a lifestyle when what our soul desires was life. To taste our longing, to feel the ache, we risk finding our soul's desire. We risk falling short of fulfilling those desires. We risk living our desires fully. In the last meditation, a meditation for desire. Sit in a comfortable position with a pen and paper. Do you have a pen and paper? This one asks you to write. Do you have a pen and paper for this meditation? So sit in a comfortable position with something to write with and something to write on. Take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth, letting the weight drop to the bottom half of your body as you exhale. Inhale and exhale, picturing the weight falling to the bottom of your body. And inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. One more in. And out through the mouth. Let your shoulders drop and bring your attention to your breath. Following the inhalation and the exhale for several moments. If your mind wanders, just gently bring it back to the breathing, following the rising and falling of your belly with each breath. Now, pick up your pen and begin to write completing the statements. I want. Finish the sentence. I need. Finish the sentence. I desire. What do you want? What do you need? What do you desire? Don't judge what you're writing. Let it come freely. This list of what you need, want, and desire. They can be concrete. They can be abstract. But do try to be specific. I want. I need. I desire. And when you're done, return to your breathing, taking 3 breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and let your body relax. pen, looking at what you have written. Read it out loud, one at a time, saying, it doesn't interest me if I ever have. What I really want is, complete the statements without judgment. Speak the unspeakable. Hear what your heart and your soul most long for, without judgment. Surprise yourself. Tell yourself something you don't already know. That's my 3 chapters from The Invitation by Oriah, Mountain Dreamer. I absolutely love this book. I love the way that it is written. I love what it speaks to within me. I feel a connection to the book of living authentically and being true to ourselves. So what came up for you while you were listening? Did it hit anywhere for you? Did anything in the meditations surprise you? Moving into this season, what do you ache for right now in this season of your life? Super duper glad that you all joined me for my story time. I'm super happy to have you all here. I see I have Lisa, Stephanie, Sandra, and Judy, and Rick. Thanks all of you for joining. It helped your shoulder pain. Did you find that you were really tense? It's funny. I feel like anybody, when you hear relax your shoulders, there's always more relaxing that could be done in your shoulders. So if I just sit here and shrug my shoulder, all right, I'm relaxed. Ready. Okay. Now tell me to relax my shoulders. There's more relaxing that can be done into your body. So just a reminder, guys, it's okay to not force stillness. Presence can arrive in unexpected ways. Wherever you are in your journey, you're exactly where you need to be. Thanks for joining me. I'll read more soon. I think I'm going to keep doing this. I want to finish the book for you guys. Yeah. And next week, we'll have Brayden here. I'm not sure what the topic is. Maybe I can look that up real quick. It's always on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. So next week, we'll be talking about animal spirits. That'll be the topic for next week, is animal spirits. Join me and Brayden next week. Oh my gosh, not tomorrow. Next week. Thanks for joining again. This was the invitation by Oriah. If you don't have it, I sent a link out with the when I announced what I was reading. Thanks for joining me, guys. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. I hope you're relaxed. See you next week. I know I have a slow connection, but you're in the way of me pressing the finish button, computer.